Namaste. Welcome everybody wherever you are in the world. Philip Wade here, broadcasting from the Universal Studio. Unusually late for me to be broadcasting at 20 to 10 UK time in the evening, but that was the insight that came in the silence meditation in the early hours of this morning, and so that's the time I went with. And as you can see on the screen there, the title of this session I'm referring to as the call of silence. Will you embrace the invitation? And I think the inspiration for this particular one is manifold, really. When I reflect upon, as I've done a lot, on the events of 2020 and the early part of 2021 and what lies ahead of us still, the world has certainly been challenged in ways that perhaps many of us have not seen in our lifetime, unless you happen to have been through a world war. And that's brought a lot of pain, suffering, emotional trauma and so forth to the surface. And that's really been all across the headlines of the news, but also in people's own direct experience with the lack of physical connection that in many parts of the world has become more challenging by virtue of the circumstances that we're facing right now. And really wanted to just stop and look at all that and offer some insight to the invitation that's always there from life, no matter what the circumstances, that comes from within. The call of the silence, as I'm calling it, the call of the heart, the call of the stillness, the call of awareness. You see, everything that we experience in life is a vibration of some kind. If you look at physics, it will tell you this. Actually, everything ultimately comes down to vibration, and yet every vibration will always ultimately return to silence. And when I use the term silence, I'm not just talking about the absence of physical sound, I'm talking about the absence of all phenomena. For we can't have the experience of sound or any phenomena without silence. Just pause and reflect upon that. If there was no silence, where would sound be? There has to be that backdrop, that contrast. And that's true of any and all phenomena. And when we meditate, really, it's not about stilling the mind, as might often be said. It's actually about recognizing the stillness, the silence, the presence within, that as that is embraced, what we call the mind automatically becomes still. It's because we're no longer identified or associated with what's going on up here, and instead remembering, resonating, connecting with the silence within. And in that space, we're in a state of awareness or pure witnessing, and the phenomena of life appear on what I like to refer to now as the green screen of consciousness. Just like in the movies where you can project anything onto a green screen. And yet awareness is that which witnesses, observes that which is appearing on the screen as untouched and unmoved by it. Silence is ever present, ever here, but because we're so focused on what's going on up here, we forget that which is naturally here, present within the stillness and silence of our hearts. And in the early hours of this morning, I felt one of these inspirational insights emerging to share in the form of a poem, and it speaks to the process of the universe, of the witnessing, and the suffering that arises from identification with mind, with form, with phenomena, and the process through that. And I wanted to read that to you and then offer some more insight about that. And it came to me as this, as the universe witnesses. So I'm going to read that to you now, and then I'll take things a little bit further. You might want to, as I read this, close your eyes and really embrace what these insightful words are pointing to. And just before I do that, I'm just going to make sure my email is switched off because I just heard it ding. Okay. So this insight come poem is entitled As the Universe Witnesses. As the universe witnesses every moment, thought, deed, untouched, unblemished, unmoved, unseen, life flows, is experienced, experiencing itself as itself. The experiencer oft forgets, yet awareness remains. Eternity, presence, stillness, infinite silence, imbued in all, as all, through all. The forgetful being is blinded, seeks seeing, striving, reaching, fears failing, fears all, fears fear. Yet the invitation home remains. Through the eye of the needle, pressure, overwhelm, tantrum, tempest. The eye of the storm, experienced, unseen, annihilated. Stillness arises. Realization flowers. Infinite silence. Heaven essence. Eternal presence. So the words of that Insight Come poem you'll find on my Facebook page, and I'm going to ask Jolene to post a link to that there for those of you who don't have it. But it really speaks to and both the process of life as the universe expressing and experiencing itself. And it's expressing and experiencing itself in infinite variety and uniquely in each of our forms. And we forget, as referred to in the poem Come Insight, that as it's expressed in the form, that we are actually one, intrinsically one with the universe and not separate from it. It's infinite and ultimately indivisible whole, and yet it's expressing and experiencing itself. And it's in that expression that we forget about the source of the expression. Which is the universe itself. I've got a strange comment here. For some reason I can't hear and both volumes are up high. I'm not sure if that's a common problem or whether anybody else is struggling with volume. If you could let me know, that would be good, or whether it's just tomorrow. For now, I'll carry on. We forget the source of all. We become just the experiencer and think that we are just that one which is experiencing. Yet, before and beyond all of that is the source, and that source is awareness or infinite silence. And the fact that it's so blindingly obvious, this ultimately, as it is realized, is the main reason, one of the main reasons why we miss it. And it's actually the only block to the realization of this source, this infinite silence, the universe itself, is belief. And I've reflected a lot on belief throughout 2020 and 2021. I talk about it a lot in the sharing of spiritual self-realization. You see, because belief in that which you are not, the case of mistaken identity, that all you are is the body-mind, is both the block to and the source of suffering. And I've seen so much throughout 2020 expressed, and certainly the early part of 2021, about people's beliefs being projected out into the world, and that their belief is better than or superior to other beliefs. But you see, the thing about belief is that it's beyond your experience. It's not actually direct, and it requires the energy of belief. It's not within your experience, and so you have to believe in it. And with belief comes suffering, and if you want to explore that in full depth, I've got a live stream that's entitled Beyond Belief, and it gives an actual real life story exploring how belief, taken to its extremity, becomes vast suffering for all of humanity. And it actually relates to the last World War, World War II, that particular story. I'm not going to share that again tonight, but just go with this, that actually this that you're projecting out and holding on to is something that you're reaching for and is not within your experience. And that striving, that reaching, as I was pointing to in the poem Come Insight, is a reaching and a striving for something that's beyond your current experience. But if you were to step back from belief and open to trusting what's already present, then the suffering can come to an end. At the root of every belief, and that's why we're seeing so much pain now in the world. It's not just about a virus, it's about belief. Is the deepest suffering within every belief ultimately comes down to the deepest suffering. Because in letting go of your beliefs, you have to face all of the emotional body and trauma that we've built up over life. And that seems like a painful prospect to the mind, but to awareness, it's actually an invitation to realize the nature of the self. And that awareness is permanent and present, and it's actually that which we are. It is the medium through which we move and the medium through which we are expressed and created. And I wanted to share with you a little video tonight, which I've not shared in this form before. Some of you may have heard me speaking to this, but unexpectedly overnight, Lee, Jolene's partner, added some video footage to the original insight. And this insight is called Fish Discover Water Last. It's not a new name that I came up with. It's a phrase I came across many years ago. But the insights offered are direct and mine from the silence, so to speak, or emerge directly from the silence would be a more accurate way to put it. And I want to offer this to you. It's 5 minutes long, and it now comes with some beautiful video footage that Lee has added to it, which speaks directly to the insight and story I am telling and the nature of our experience here in the physical. So please enjoy this, and then I'll be back. It's called Fish Discover Water Last. And the reason I've called it that will become clear as the story and insight unfolds. So today I'd like to tell you the story of the fish that realized the self. So our fish, he was part of a school like many fish are, and he just was chatting to his friends and said, you know, I really want to go off and discover who I really am. And the fish's friends are all saying to him, well, you're a fish, you know, you're just part of this school. We swim around in the school, live our life together. No, I just have this feeling that there's more than this. I can sort of feel something inside. I can't really explain it. And his fish friends were not very keen on him going, but anyway, off he went on his adventures and had, you know, some really good times. He found some tropical waters that were lovely and warm, but he also found some very, very deep and dark waters that were very challenging. And one day he also came across a whale, and he'd been taught to be afraid of whales. But actually he overcame his fear and actually had a great time swimming the oceans with the whale. Went on his back on some great adventures, and if you'll forgive the phrase, they had a whale of a time. But eventually he got fed up of that too, and went off on his own. And then sometime later he realized he was just completely and utterly exhausted with his explorations. He didn't really feel he'd found what he was looking for. And in this completely exhausted state, he surrendered, and a great stillness came over him, and he realized that he was actually not a fish at all, but was just awareness embodied as a fish. It was so profound and so utterly life-changing for him. He felt he had to go off and tell his friends, and eventually he swam back and found the school, and the school recognised him but saw that a great change had taken place, and they said to him, what has happened to you? And he said, isn't the water wonderful beyond words? Isn't it just incredible? And the fish said in return, what water? The water, the fish said. The water, it's beautiful, it's amazing beyond words. Don't know what you mean, no idea what you mean. And therein, my friends, is the essence of the issue that people experience with self-realization. For it is the medium through which we move through consciousness, is that which we are. And it is so blindingly obvious. We can't see it, as like that phrase in English, you can't see the wood for the trees. That which we are is already here, it's everywhere and nowhere. It is indeed unseen, and yet it sees. So the phrase saying, fish discover, water last, is very appropriate to self-realization. For the medium is consciousness, which is self-aware energy, and that's what we are, awareness or infinite silence. So the question then remains, are we prepared to stop, to look and to listen and realize that which is here, just like the fish in our story? So, thank you to Lee for adding that beautiful video footage to the insights I was offering there, and I did that off the cuff a few months ago, just as it came. But I hope that you can see with that visual metaphor and the words that went along with it, the nature of what I'm talking about. Consciousness is like water. It's often used both in dream language and visual language. It's symbolic of consciousness because it's so vast, the oceans, and everywhere, and takes up the shape of its container. You can forget that it is that which we're moving through, is that which we are, and consciousness, simply expressed, is self-aware energy. You see, every phenomena that you have ever experienced, every thought, feeling, emotion, sensation, it appeared. One moment there was no emotion, and then next minute it appeared, maybe reached a peak, and gradually over time dissolved. The same is true of feelings, thoughts. Any and all phenomena are simply appearances. We most often associate ourselves with being the feeling, the thought, the emotion. But that can't be right, because all of these are changing over time. So what is it that's able to notice the arising and the falling away, the disappearance of the phenomena? The mere fact that that can be observed, those changes over time, witnessed, noticed, reported, or shared. That has to tell you something, and it tells you that there's a witnessing presence or awareness, stillness, that sees the arising of all of the thoughts, all of the feelings, all of the emotions, all of the sensations, and is actually untouched and unmoved by them. That bit is very important. It's actually untouched and unmoved by them. All of the appearances, the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations are simply appearances on the green screen, and the witnessing presence simply, silently accepts them. But when one identifies with, believes in, and attaches to the appearance, then you suffer. Because all of these phenomena are constantly changing, and you're constantly fighting a battle to get rid of this thought, this feeling, this sensation, this emotion, or reaching for something, a state when you will be happy, when actually the natural expression or flow of awareness is joy for no reason. And it's referred to as silence or infinite silence because it is completely and utterly still and silent. Completely, utterly still and silent. And it's not about believing anything I have to say about it, because as you open to this and it is realized, it won't require the energy of belief. It will be realized. You see, truth is a realization, not a belief. Truth is a realization, not a belief. And so you will realize that you are in fact that awareness or that infinite silence that is beyond and before all phenomena. And you'll no longer need to believe in something that you are not. Instead, it will become a knowing. It will become a realization. So if you truly seek peace, joy, stillness in your life, then the answer is always to look within. World peace begins with inner peace. It's not the other way around. World peace begins with inner peace. And you'll only realize that by opening to that stillness, that awareness, that presence that's already here now. Feels like a good point to let's have a brief meditation now, maybe 5-10 minutes, just to help you integrate everything that I've been pointing at here. And it's called the Infinite Silence Meditation, and it emerged as part of the realization of the self, actually in two stages. First in 2011, and then the full-blown realization in 2014. So it's a very specific and very powerful meditation because it didn't come from here, it arose from within. I'm just going to check in on the comments here before I take you to the meditation, just to see if there was something. Oh, so Victoria, I'll just pop that on the screen. So Victoria saying, thank you so much for your live stream. You've helped me so much. I am so thankful from the bottom of my heart. I lost myself, but now my inner peace is back. Well, I'm delighted to hear that, Victoria, and we can deepen that a little bit further now with this meditation. So if you want to get yourselves comfortable, whether you're going to sit down or lie down, I'll just guide you with a few words into recognizing this awareness, this witnessing presence that I've been talking about, and then take you beyond all of the phenomena. And I'll use a term that may seem a little strange if you're new to the meditation, but just go with it, and that's the term spheres of light, and that will be explained in the meditation itself. I just want you to be open to that. That's the invitation. So just getting yourself ready, and after the meditation I'll share with you the details of a free or voluntary donation online retreat that's taking place at the end of the month. In fact, I think Jolene's just posted the link there already, but I'll do that as well in all the locations. So just closing your eyes now. And as you close your eyes, just simply, as I've been talking about, become aware of all the phenomena, the feelings, any emotions, sensations, the breath, and just simply, silently noticing those and accepting them fully without any judgment of what's here now. Just simply observing, like you're watching a movie from the inside. And as you continue to witness, notice, observe, just be open from your heart to the experience of spheres of light. That's spheres of light. Nothing you need to do, just be open. And this energy of spheres of light is the same as the universal state I am. I am. Noticing this I amness. Simply being. Noticing this. And knowing now the mere fact that this can be sensed or witnessed. This I amness means it is seen from a deeper awareness. That is the silent witness in infinite silence. And your attention now is merging, becoming one with this silent witnessing. That sees the I am. And this silent witness itself is rather like some ice in an ocean of water. And it's melting, merging, becoming one with the water. Dissolving completely, merging with the water. And the water is actually an ocean of infinite silence. Completely merging with that now. Being open to this in silence, we trust. In silence, you will realize your truth. In truth, you will realize you are silence, infinite silence, infinite awareness. Be still and know. Just this. This rarefied atmosphere of silence. still and know. Nothing more important than this, the call of silence. Embrace the invitation. Be still and know. This ever-present awareness, stillness, silence, nothing more important than this. Now, and in a moment, I will ring these Tingsha bells 3 times. Just continue to rest with your eyes closed in and as the silence. And as the sound of the Tingsha bells gently fades to silence, I'm just going to read for one more time the Insight Come poem I shared earlier, and let the words move through the whole of your being. As the universe witnesses every moment, thought, deed, untouched unblemished, unmoved, unseen. Life flows, is experienced, experiencing itself as itself. The experiencer oft forgets, yet awareness remains. Eternity, presence, stillness, infinite silence, imbued in all, as all, through all. The forgetful being is blinded, seeks seeing, striving, reaching, fears failing, fears all, fears fear. Yet the invitation home remains. Through the eye of the needle, pressure, overwhelm, tantrum, tempest. The eye of the storm, experienced and seen, annihilated. Stillness arises. Realization flowers. Infinite silence. Heaven essence. Eternal presence. And if you're still resting there with your eyes closed, just aware of the chair you're sat in or whatever you may be lay on, aware of the space, yet with the awareness still anchored in and as the silence. Gently, if you haven't already done so, opening your eyes. Good. Good. So as promised, I'd like to just share with you now another short video, a bit of a pointing to the retreat, the free or voluntary donation online retreat that's taking place a week tomorrow. We'll put the link in the comments. But please just enjoy this 3-minute video. It gives you a bit of insight to the retreat, and then I'll check if there's any comments or questions.
feel when you come in here that there's a beautiful energy in.
I wanted to speak about it so much at first, but realised there wasn't any words.
Just life flows through from the silence.
And it kind of stopped me in my tracks. And it was, what's this?
Just something so simple could be so profound and powerful.
The experiences are extraordinary. So silence, profound stillness.
Much stiller, much calmer.
Amazing days, amazing events.
So if you feel the call to that, the link is in the comments, whether you're watching on my page, the Peace and Love page, or YouTube, or on the watch parties. We'll make sure it's shared there as well. Ali, who's in Australia, is saying it's World Meditation Day, and if it is, I didn't know that. For me, every day, every moment is a meditation. And Princess Jewel is saying it's International Hug Day, so maybe you're both right, but we'll see. Well, that's the point, really. The whole purpose of meditation is to realize you are, in fact, the living meditation, the living awareness, the living stillness, the living silence. So that's pretty much it from me. If you feel called, look out for the link. Otherwise, wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I'll leave you with some beautiful harp music, and maybe we'll see some of you on the online retreat a week tomorrow. Bye now. Namaste, everybody. Have a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are.